Good afternoon, and thanks for joining today's webinar, a fall update from the Department of Energy's Weatherization Program Manager, and happy Weatherization Month. This is Natalie Kramer from the National Community Action Partnership, and we are delighted to have the newly announced Permanent Manager for Weatherization, Erica Burrin, online to talk with everyone today about the continuous improvement efforts within the Weatherization Network. The Weatherization Leverage Partnerships Project at the National Community Action Partnership works with DOE to support weatherization organizations. We provide tools and resources and opportunities to engage, like this one, so that all levels within the network have access to information and resources, as well as opportunities to provide feedback. So that's why we're thrilled to continue to work with Erica and the weatherization team at DOE. Erica has been a really critical player in implementing this system of feedback and then strategizing the best response for improvements. She really understands the importance that each layer of this network plays in ensuring a quality program. And so I will go ahead and let her tell you more about the current efforts that are taking place and ways to engage in your state. So Erica, I will turn it over to you. Let me unmute you here.
Inviting me and giving me this opportunity to talk with you all this afternoon. I think since I've been around a while, I thought I would spend just a couple of minutes introducing myself, so we can go to the next slide and talk about some of the efforts that we have started here. As Natalie said, I come from a local community action program in my hometown, where I still live, in Bloomington, Indiana. I worked at one of the county offices of South Central Community Action Program, and that's how I came to South Central from an AmeriCorps placement working with formerly homeless women and children, and lucked into a job at my local CAP. In the county office where I worked, we had, programs that will sound very familiar to all of you: food pantry, energy assistance, Section 8, family development, wheels to work, all that to say that I have a deep love and appreciation for the work that you do across the country, and especially my home CAP, which I think does an outstanding job. From South Central, I moved on to the state. I worked for the state of Indiana in weatherization as the program manager, then eventually ran the CSBG, LIHEAP, and weatherization for the state. Left weatherization for a period of time and then went to work at DOE. I've been at DOE. I started out at the National Lab, NETL, in 2009. So within a week, I will have been at DOE for 9 years, unbelievably. But I wanted to give some sense of where I've been in this program and in this network, just as a little background. I guess it would be important for me to talk a little bit about the philosophy, I think, that we are working under at the Department of Energy. This particular program, we are three legs of the same stool. There are roles for the federal funding source, for states, and of course, for the sub-grantees. And we have a history of working together collaboratively to ensure the mission of the program is met. So even though we all play different roles and have different pieces of this little program, and sometimes our views are in conflict or contentious with other partners, I think what we should sometimes remember is that we all have the same goal, which is to provide the best service to our clients that saves them energy, that puts money in their pockets to do the things that they need to do so that they can feed, clothe, and shelter themselves. So the vast majority of people who work in this program believe deeply in what they're doing. And sometimes when things are more contentious with, various partners, it's important that we go back and remember that we're all working towards the same goal together. And when we do that a lot of times, I think if we go from the place where we're, teasing out the things that we don't agree on, but the vast majority of things we have some common ground on, it makes resolution a little easier. We've had a number of years, ours passed. It was a very stressful time, I'm sure, for every level, but also especially at the local level. DOE and the states do not weatherize any homes. That is all done by all of you. And it's important we remember that. I think it's also important to remember that we all have roles to play and we have some work to do together. So I think one of the things that we'll be working on is transparency and communications. We'll talk a little bit about some of the feedback tools that we've been working on, but DOE understands that we all need to get, communications out in different ways to all levels of the network so that we can understand what each role is doing and how that relates to the larger picture. So we will continue to work on getting information out to the grantees and to the sub-grantees so that the expectations are known at the state and local level, and that we will talk about some of those communication tools that we've put in place and some plans for the near future. So as far as goals go, I think what you'll be hearing from DOE is that all the things that Natalie talked about, continuous improvements. Some of the questions that DOE and the network need to answer are, is our quality work improving? Is it consistent? Has it improved enough? How do we know that it has? If it hasn't, why hasn't it? And what are we going to do about it? So I think those are all questions that we have to answer for ourselves together. Next slide. So some of the continuous improvement activities, in the recent past are, of course, the national evaluations, and we've made some changes in the program based on what those evaluations told us and requirements needed in the network, and some changes we made at the direction of Congress. So that kind of started the ball rolling, I feel like. And then in 2017, we did the American Customer Satisfaction Index, ACSI, for both the grantees to give feedback to DOE on, what we should be focusing on, and also for the sub-grantees to give feedback to the states on the things that they should be doing. We also held the 4 focus groups, or the solution summits, to kind of dig deeper into some specific barriers in the program that included, training centers, stakeholders, sub-grantee staff, grantee staff, to dig into some of the nuances of the barriers that we all face at different levels of the program. And we want to make sure that the systemic feedback loop and communication and our efforts are ongoing. So we are figuring out what the next round of some of the focus groups and the solution summits will look like, but I think internally DOE has some work to do in terms of making sure that management is on board with our path for continuous improvement. So there are a number of things that are in review at this level that as soon as they are approved, I'll be going out to the network on those activities, goals, and getting feedback from everyone on how we implement those things and what our metrics will be, what other activities need to occur. But, you know, we have a few things that I can't necessarily talk about because they haven't been approved, but do know that we're going through the process, and sometimes it does take DOE a long time to get through the process. So next slide. Okay, so in 17, we did the customer satisfaction survey. And the grantees told us, you know, the two things that we really needed to focus on and do a better job at were plan review and acceptance and grant monitoring and corrective action. So we developed an action plan. We spent some time developing tools. We put those things out. We also asked states to do that with their subs and report to us on the activities that they were taking within their networks to improve their customer service to you all, the sub-grantees. And I think the next slide, I wanted to share with everybody the next slide. These quotes are things that the grantees said to DOE about our service. And I want to point out that I put this up at the last meeting with the grantees at the NASCAS meeting last month when I was talking to them about we were going to do the survey again in 2019 because I was concerned that grantees were feeling that it wasn't necessary to do it again, and it is extra work to do the survey and come, you know, and talk with one another. But again, if we go back to we're all three legs of the same tool, we need to, how do we get better if we don't know what the problem is? And at least for DOE, there were all kinds of things that the grantees told us that we didn't even know were issues. And I'm sure that the state felt the same way. In fact, I put up these less than flattering comments to say, I know it isn't always fun to get this kind of criticism, but it's worth it because it creates a pathway for us to communicate better, to do a better job, and I think my concern was misplaced because I didn't hear from the grantees that they didn't want to do this. In fact, you know, NASCAS did a number of roundtables and working groups with states around that received good scores in certain areas so that they could share with other states how to improve their various processes. So either they just didn't want to tell me they didn't want to do it, but there was a lot of positive feedback, not just for the steps that DOE had taken, but for their work with the sub-grantees. So I hope that, you know, the new survey probably won't go out until calendar year 19 because I still have to get the agreement in place to use the tool. But I hope that you will engage with your state in this process, and I hope that they're engaging back with you. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we have spent some time, as I said, working on, you know, the various things that the grantees talked about. We had a baseline in 2017 In 2019, again, this applies to the sub-grantees in your work with the states. Have they taken the information? Have they made improvements? Let's see where we are together. Hopefully, they have engaged with you all, and you are seeing better engagement from the grantees in your state, and like I said, DOE certainly took some steps to address some of the concerns from the states. So, next slide. A few of the things that I wanted to highlight that are as a result of us trying to do a better job in communicating in some of our continuous improvement goals is the Memorandum 41, which is the Gov delivery. It is a tool that sends out email notifications to whoever signs up, so that anytime DOE issues a policy guidance document, we call them WPNs, Weatherization Program Notices, or memorandums, or we post training resources or webinars to the website, you'll get a notification that it's listed and you can go check it out for yourself. I know that we reached out to every grantee, and all but 11 states offered to opt in. I sent the states that did not offer to opt in their sub-grantees to the partnership, and I know that they've reached out to try and make sure that sub-grantees understand, how to sign up, how to subscribe, so that we can all be receiving the same information at the same time. So there's a link, and I put it in my notes, I'm sorry. I will put it in the PowerPoint before they post it, so that if you have not received a notification and want to sign up, you will have the link in order to do so. The next item on the list that came about as a result of the Solution Summit was, again, around communication and having the ability for everyone to submit questions to DOE. We are working on a communications portal so that questions can be submitted, responded to, and it would be a searchable database by topic or, any number of ways. We've put in a agreement for the task, and we were waiting on fiscal year 19 to start, which is now 3 days old. So funds have been set aside, and we'll be working on how to put that up. It'll likely be on guidance page, or grantees are more familiar with page where they do their reporting. There'll be a place on one of those websites for you to submit your question and receive responses that will be available to the public. So that's in the work. I think another continuous improvement activity that we want to highlight is the state plan development. We have developed in the last year a grantee planning calendar that highlights different ways for the grantees to be working on their state plan and communicating and engaging their sub-grantees throughout the year. It's not something that, it's not a best practice to send out your plan 10 days before the hearing and, your sub-grantees don't know anything about it. So we have tried to develop training resources for states, and this was also part of the focus groups that NASCAS put together from the feedback from sub-grantees to the states on the ACSI. So that tool is out there on the training resources page. Also under fund distribution, DOE in the last 2 years has made sure that every state had some funds to start their program years, that some of it is contingent on how much money is available, is contingent upon the budget process. This year we have a budget on time, and, you know, we're all scrambling like, what do we really do when we actually have a budget? So funds should be available on time. Congress, you know, put in some language there about reminding the Department of Energy that they have an obligation to obligate funds, and so we are doing everything we can to have allocations, annual guidance, and everything out the door on time this year. We understand it's very difficult to produce homes when you don't have money. So, and then the other item is around partnerships and leveraging. This came up in focus groups and also in the ACSI. And I want to say that, you know, the partnership is, you know, has a grant with DOE to provide assistance to everybody in specifically these areas. They work with on trainings, webinars, collecting success stories, connecting you to each other to share what works in different places. I know Meg Power has been on the leveraging project for a lot of years, and they're working with Natalie and everybody at the partnership to advocate for leverage funds and designing these partnerships. And we certainly hope that you will put Natalie to work. I think she's pretty fabulous, and I know once you start working with her, you will too. We're also,
Thanks, Erica.
I think we're also trying to encourage states to set aside DOE funds in their plans for leveraging. That used to be a big focus, and we don't have that many states doing it, so we're going to continue to do everything we can to highlight some of the work of, you know, Meg and others, and some of the work that NASCAP also has completed around setting aside the DOE funds and what that can actually help you do. So another partnership that we're working on is with LIHEAP. We've had some joint sessions at the last couple of conferences, HHS, LIHEAP, and DOE Weatherization, talking about ways that you have at your disposal to make the two programs work together better, and combining funds on a house so that you have the flexibility of LIHEAP and some of the framework and structure that DOE provides. So those are a few things that we've been working on. I want to highlight as well the program guidance page where you can search right there on the left-hand side, active memorandums, active program notices. This was one of the items that came out from ACSI and the focus groups around a single place where current guidance can be searched. Well, that's on the EERE website. You can see the hyperlink at the bottom. Also, if you look in the internally at DOE, we call it the -1, but the Weatherization Program Notice, you know, in this case, 18-1 would be the current. There is a table in the -1 every year that gives you by topic the most current program notice. You can also go to the website and just click active program notices, certain topic areas to come up with the most current information from DOE. This is also where you can sign up on the website for the GovDelivery opt-in, the little bar there. If you click on the sign up for the newsletter, it's not really a newsletter. It's just updates when the items are uploaded to the weatherization page. So that is also on the same page with the same hyperlink. And if you go to the next slide, if you sign up, you'll be getting an email that looks like this that tells you what it is and the hyperlink to the resource that's been posted. And the email will come from WAP TA. So you might need, I think in a couple instances, emails have gone to the junk folder, so you might need to check your settings if you sign up. Next page. So I guess in closing, I want to encourage you all to continue to engage with your state, with DOE. We have a lot of work to do together to make the program better. We have had 4 years of evaluations and initiatives that concerned all levels of the program. And it's been strained, I think, since recovery. That was a very stressful time for everyone. But it's time to get back to the regular order of getting objective scientific information, bringing the successes and the challenges we face to one another so that we can figure out how to make the program better. We've had that history, and it's time that we get back to doing that. Not to say that we will always agree, but to remember that we have the same goal together, to make sure that our clients save energy, which saves them money, and our clients, a very vulnerable population, needs that little bit of money to, live their lives. And without the sub-grantees, that work doesn't get done. So the quality and the evaluation, whether or not we're successful, rests in the work that your agencies do. And we want to be a part of making the program better for all of us. So I would encourage you to engage in your state plan. I know that most of the 2018 plans have been awarded. We have some 10-1 states that have not submitted or got caught up in the carryover process, so they have not been carryover of funds from one fiscal year to the next at the federal level. So they have not been awarded, but the vast majority have. And in 2019, I hope you will participate in the ACSI, that you'll sign up for GovDelivery, that you'll come to the partnership conferences and to the NASCAS conferences, and continue to direct and guide us in making the program better. So those are all the prepared statements I think I had. For my email address.
Thanks so much, Erica. Folks, I encourage you to send in any questions that you have for Erica through the chat window or the Q&A feature. Erica has put her email address up here, so definitely be in touch with her and her team if you have questions that come up. As you all are furiously typing in your questions, I'll go ahead and just plug again that we're really excited about the GovDelivery system. We hope you guys will sign up. A good tip was on that highlighted page that we showed to pick your preferences. So if you just want to know about weatherization, make sure you click that box so you're not getting hundreds of emails a day. I'm sure it's not that much, but making sure you're picking your preferences. Also a note, we worked with NASCAS and NCAP, and NASCAS really took the lead on this, creating Weatherization Day materials. So we hosted a webinar, and we have they put together a communications toolkit in addition to their site visit toolkits that they have, so I encourage you to check those out. We got a question about the conferences. So the Community Action Partnership hosts 2 conferences every year. Our annual conference takes place in August, so we just wrapped that one up, but all the materials, we had 5 energy workshops. Those are all available on our website, communityactionpartnership.com, and then our next conference focused on management and leadership takes place January 16th through the 18th in New Orleans. And we are also working with NASCAS. They have a winter conference too, so we'll be there. I don't have the dates off the top of my head, but as Erica mentioned, DOE and the national partners are working together to make sure you all have the information and the training that you need. So our conferences and their conferences, and then the HPC conference next spring too, we're all working together through those to make sure that you get all the materials and access to information that you need. So hopefully you'll continue to see Community Action Partnership as a resource as we really work to continue to provide more engagements like this one as a part of these continuous efforts to strengthen the communications channels within the network that Erica mentioned. So we do have one more question. Please keep sending those in. What is the best way to have DOE and HEAP weatherization eligible household priorities work together? And what is the DOE definition of young children?
Well, the DOE definition for young children is different for every grantee. It's part of your state plan. It's in the master file. So I don't think I can give you an answer for every state, but it's 19 or under, I believe, is what the requirement, but each state tells DOE in their state plan what they're considering children for households with children as one of the priorities. How to best align I assume HEAP is the Energy Assistance Program and the DOE Weatherization Program priorities. So LIHEAP only has one stated priority for energy assistance, and that is energy burden. So your state can align energy burden priorities between the two programs. Most states use the LIHEAP priority scoring point system to, for weatherization, because the majority of, clients coming into the system are LIHEAP clients, so they use a very similar scoring system. I'm not sure I can provide any clarity without knowing any more specifics.
No, I think that's helpful.
And I understand that is a deeply unsatisfying answer. I understand that, but it really does depend on grantee policies in terms of, what the state has told DOE how they're going to run their program. So I would say this is part of that, engage in the state plan process, work with the state to align things so it is easier for you to combine funds in homes and to spend money and do what needs to be done in homes.
Great, thanks, Erica. So as folks are continuing to think about their questions, I'll just piggyback on what Erica said about engaging in your state plan process on weatherization, but also, as we've seen come up on the LIHEAP state plan process, as that affects how you're able to run your program too. So figuring out when that's happening and getting involved on that side of it too, to make sure that, like she said, you're able to coordinate those in the best way possible. So if folks have any follow-up questions, I encourage you to get in touch with me, Natalie Kramer. My email is nkramer@communityactionpartnership.com. And then, of course, Erica provided her direct email address too. And we look forward to continuing to provide opportunities like this. And as Erica mentioned, there are more efforts in the works at DOE, so we'll be sure to be sharing those out. And hopefully at the state level, you all are able to participate in this process too. So I just want to say thank you so much to Erica for taking the time to do this. And if you have any last comments before we close out for the day.
Nope. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and We look forward to engaging with you once we are able to roll out some additional goals and activities around continuous improvement.
Great. Thanks so much, and thanks everybody for joining. Have a great day.